It is time for the final day of racing for AMA Pro Superbike here at the legendary Daytona International Speedway. And as it has every day so far in this event, it is even better in terms of weather. A glorious day, conditions perfect for these super fast Superbikes to put on a great show. Round two coming at you. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Kramer. Delighted to be joined by former World Superbike champion Scott Russell. And Scott, you know, one of the big questions coming into this season, what's going to happen at Daytona in terms of Josh Hayes going for that fourth title? Well, it was a tough start for him at this point, but his teammate, youngster Josh Herrin, what a day.
Yeah, I mean, for the Yamaha team, they couldn't be happier to have two guys that can run that pace up front. When you lose one, you still got a great shot to win, and that's exactly what happened yesterday. So we'll see if Josh Hayes can get our thing off the line a little bit smoother today and continue that run.
Let's take a look at some of the activities and developments from the racing yesterday. And at the very launch, as he always does, Josh Hayes was able to pull a great hole shot and lead early and look pretty strong. Josh Herrin able to stay close, but there, the guy that we thought maybe could go after him, problems.
You saw Roger Hayden toss it away first lap, full tank of fuel, cold tires, trying to keep up with these two Yamahas.
Then suddenly Hayes slowed. Josh Herrin went by. Hayes had a problem. He was going to bring it into the pits. Herrin, however, it didn't keep being an easy one as Martin Cardenas came after him huge, just missing at the stripe. Herrin getting the win. What does this do for this young man's confidence now to be able to really go after this championship in earnest?
Well, he believes now he belongs up front. He knows he can win these races, so I can't tell you what a big deal that is as a rider. So going into today, he's going to take that momentum in, and so is Cardenas. He saw he could run up front, so it's going to be an epic battle today.
And a wonderful story for Larry Pegram after a huge crash in practice to come back and do so well. Here are today's storylines, and it's the Triple H's. Josh Hayes coming back at Daytona. Josh Herrin, can he do it again? And Roger Hayden, redemption. Can he stay on the bike and give these guys a run?
Well, we're going to find out here in a little while, so stay tuned. And I think there's going to be a couple other guys that might be a little bit better today as well. So Danny Essick had a little off yesterday, so he's back on it today, and we'll look for great things from him.
And talking about Pegram and that incident, I mean, he rode off the bike, the privateer team. They managed to rebuild it. He had to write a check to do it, and he came back with that great podium finish. Does he have the willingness now today, do you think, to push it a little bit harder? He said after the race yesterday, I wasn't running as hard as I could. I was a little tentative. Does he just let it go today?
Well, I don't know that you can do that after. If he just watched, you know, the earlier race today, early in the morning, this track is still not up to temperature, so we're starting a little bit earlier than we did yesterday. So he's got to still kind of ride like that and be careful. The last thing he wants to do is flick that Yamaha down the road again and get that checkbook out. So, Larry, what a great run yesterday. I think he can do better, but we'll just have to see how he approaches it.
And for Martin Cardenas, he had such a strong run. Looked like he had the perfect position for the end of that race. That little bob, a little bit too much throttle, the wheel came up too early exiting the chicane, cost him.
It did, and he went to school there. You know, he's coming off a 600. They don't have traction control, wheelie control, so this is a learning curve for him. So he checked that mark off. He went to school yesterday. I don't see him making that mistake again today.
There was another group a little bit further back, led by Chris Clark for much of it, teammate to Cardenas for the Yoshimura Suzuki team. And one of the guys who looked really strong in that secondary group was Taylor Knapp. Came up, had a great run. Big incident in warm-up this morning. Not even sure whether he's going to be able to make it to the grid. So, yeah, he is out there. That's great news. But what does that do to a guy's confidence?
Oh, it's tough, you know, not to mention the KTMs are a little bit down on speed. So, I mean, but nevertheless, he had his own race with his teammate, and that's kind of the guy you want to beat when you're in a situation like that. So if he can stay close to Chris Fillmore and outrun him, then that's what he wants to do. Chris feels the same way. So it's going to be tough. This is a fast track. The KTM still got a lot of development to go to get up to speed.
Yeah, exactly. And, of course, the EBR still getting developed as well. So that's going to be a story for Jeff May. But right now, Art pole sitter did it again, obviously, in qualifying. We talked about it. Josh Hayes is with Greg White.
Well, Josh, sighting lap is done. Day two. Yesterday, bit of an incident. Did the crew find out what happened with that clutch, and are you set to go?
You know, these things happen. Like I said, you got big horsepower in this Yamaha. You got big gear in here at Daytona. Bad things can happen. So the boys went to work on it. We think we have it all sorted out, so I'm looking forward to a good race. If you don't see me get a hole shot, don't be surprised, though.
All right, good luck, Hayes. All right, let's go to Jason Pridmore with more.
Sitting down here with new Superbike winner, Josh Herrin. We're going to ask him about that right now. How did it feel this morning to wake up knowing you've won your first Superbike race and to do it at Daytona of all things?
Felt good. I was a little sore, though, so that kind of brought me down, but no, it felt really good. You know, the Monster Energy Graves Yamaha R1 worked great yesterday, and I'm just looking forward to try and do the same thing today. Hopefully we can stick with Josh in the beginning like we did yesterday and try and give him a run for our money, for their money.
And
we're going to head on back to the other podium guy from yesterday, Greg.
Yeah, Larry Pegram on the podium here at Daytona. A new day. Did it sink in, the great result yesterday, and have you and the crew made any changes to this R1?
Yeah, we made some changes. The Foremost Insurance R1 was really good yesterday, but we looked at the data, and there are definitely some things we can improve on, and I need to improve on my riding a little bit too. I was riding a little bit like a sissy yesterday, and you know, had some crashes earlier in the weekend, kind of wanted to finish, but today we've already got a podium, so it's a little bit more go for it today.
All right, well, you know, it was 2-year absence since Larry got on the podium, and he was all cool, calm, and collected about it. Let's go back to Jason.
Thanks, G-Dub. Down here with Robertino, 0.2 off of top 5 finish yesterday. Great run for the first race out on this Kawasaki. What are you expecting from today?
Well, we're going to try to do it again. We're going to try to gain one more spot, try to beat that Yoshimura to the line. He's pretty fast, but we have a good machine that Team Prieto Performance built for us. The Team Moto Venezuela PC 4x4 store, and everybody involved in this program is putting so much effort together that yesterday I was very proud of our result, and we're going to try to do it again today.
Great to see a privateer competing with these boys.
Oh, it is, and I mean, he's, you know, keep in mind where he started back in the pack just a little bit, ending up in 6th. That was an absolutely well-judged drive, just as they pointed out, just missing that top 5, and looking forward to some great racing yet today to unfold here. There is a look at the man who came so close, Martin Cardenas, now on board the Yoshimura Suzuki, one of the prime rides, and looking forward to trying to take it to the front. Lots to go here, and of course we'll be coming up with 15 laps of racing, round 2 AMA Pro Superbike when we come back. Speed's coverage of AMA Pro Superbike from Daytona is brought to you by Progressive Insurance, #1 in motorcycle insurance. And by Yamaha. Yamaha is the first name in motorsports. That is a great look at the high banks here at legendary Daytona International Speedway. And there is that look at the infamous chicane, at least certainly this weekend. It has bitten a lot of people, and we want to make sure everybody gets through there clean. Let's check in one last time before we go green. Greg White.
Well, the number 44, Taylor Knapp, who had an amazing ride for 9th place yesterday, had a huge high side on that HMC KTM this morning, and the team had to thrash to get the backup bike going, and they were able to get it, but just as they rolled out for this lap, this warm-up lap, he had problems getting the motorcycle started. So Taylor Knapp on the 44, hopefully he'll roll up to his grid position, but the bike is a big question mark right now, whether he'll be able to duplicate or do better than the 9th place from yesterday.
And because of his slow getaway, they've delayed the start just enough time to let him come around and get into his grid position. So that's the good news. He'll be able to start where he wanted. So that's good news indeed. Jason.
Yeah, just sitting down here, Aaron Yates came in on the EBR racing bike and had a long look at something. I couldn't get down there far enough to see what it was, but let's pay attention to him real early in this race. As Taylor Knapp is also coming down pit lane now, and it looks like he's going to be able to take his place on the grid. But he's going to have to start from the last row.
Oh, tough deal. Yates on the Team Amsoil Hero EBR 1190 RS. Great to have him back in Superbike racing. So connected with this championship. There, Yates, the back of the field. Get the signal from the back of the grid. Everybody is in position. Oh, we've got still one issue. And they're up and running. So our grid is ready. Race 2. AMA Pro National Guard Superbike at Daytona about to unfold. 15 laps. Let's see what a healthy in terms of machinery Josh Hayes might be able to do today. Good launch by Josh, also by Cardenas, but again, Herrin slots right into 2nd. Cardenas pulls down into 3rd around Roger Hayden, who actually gets swamped by Pegram as well.
And Essex swamped back in the field. Got a terrible start on that Jordan Suzuki. He's got a lot of work to do today to catch that back up. But Josh Hayes nailed the start right there. Larry Pegram in a great spot in 4th right there as well. So he's going to try to repeat what he did or maybe one better today.
Up front, Hayes, Herrin. Then Cardenas, then Pegram. Boy, that was a great start by Pegram. He's got to be thrilled with this early that launch in the first couple of corners. And Hayes and Herrin, once again, those two Monster Energy Graves Yamahas at the front. And Herrin was able to stick with Josh very strongly in the early going yesterday. We're not sure when Josh's clutch problem really started to present itself. So this is going to be a bit telltale here, I would think, in the early laps.
Exactly. We're going to see what kind of pace Josh sets up front right now, and we'll see who can go with him and play the game. And Cardenas, we know, is quick, and we know Herrin. It looked like he was struggling a little bit with his setup yesterday. Still a little bit wide right there, and you see the bike pump as he comes to the right. So I don't think he's got the perfect setup, and he's definitely got a different line than his teammate through that chicane, which to me is the most important corner on this racetrack.
And interesting, we talked, both Hayes and Herrin use all the curb coming in and through the chicane. We're watching Cardenas. He doesn't touch that curb very often. Different approach?
A little bit different. I think he's going to have to really to change the radius and come in a little straighter. So I think he's going to go to school again. Right now he's got two guys to learn from today from Yamahas. Being new to this Superbike class, ran it a couple years ago, but on a totally different type of or setup and team. This team right here is a definite front runner team.
And you talked about Eslick having that rough start, slipping back to 8th. Greg White, any thoughts?
Yeah, just to let everyone know, the rule in AMA Pro Racing is if you stop your forward momentum and you don't gain an advantage, then it's a clean start. And Danny definitely stopped, and he actually hurt his start as he is back in 8th place, so it's a clean start.
Just cost him, obviously, a lot of time. Let's take a look at it, Scott. Oh, yeah, but paused. Yeah, they got swamped, so served his own penalty.
Yeah, that killed him right there, but you know, he's still on the bike, and he can try to fight through the pack right now, but it's going to be a kind of a long day for him.
Great opportunity for him this year with Michael Jordan Motorsports, and doing a great job. But obviously, he's dealing with somebody who's got a fair amount of experience on that bike with this team in Roger Hayden. And yet in qualifying was very close. You can see Eslick, once he gets dialed in and comfortable with that program, we know he's got skills, and he is fun to watch.
Exactly. These top four have already broken away from the rest of the field. You can see that great drive that Josh Hayes continues to get out of that chicane. I just kind of wonder when Herrin's going to slow the bike down a little bit more in the middle of the corner and focus on more of the exit of that corner. We'll see if he starts to change his line through there. But definitely a bit different line by the number 1 and the 36 opposed to the 2.
Yeah, there are times when that old cliche rule is extremely accurate. A little slower in, faster out.
That's right, and be a little bit more diligent in the middle of the corner to get the bike slowed and rotated where he can drive it off the corner instead of carrying lean angle for a little bit longer. And that's what I see the difference between Cardenas and Hayes. They run in a little bit earlier, but they slow the bike down and stay off the edge of the tire a little bit less maybe.
Right now, Josh Herrin has the quickest lap that we have seen in this race at a 37.5, Hayes at a 37.6, and then Cardenas at a 37.8. Those are the only guys into the 37s right now. There's Roger Hayden back in 5th spot right now. That bike doesn't look particularly happy, does it?
Well, look at Eslick. He's making a run. He's right behind his teammate now. You can see Roger up ahead. So that's kind of his race. Those two guys want to beat each other. And even after the poor start he's made his way back up to where now he can set his sights on his teammate as they run down the back straightaway heading to that chicane.
It's 99 Jeff May taking a quick look back on the Team Hero EBR 1190 RS and doing a nice job right now to stay right there with Eslick at this point. This is a bike that continues to develop. And watching for the leaders, here is Hayes. Still Herrin right with him at this stage as they come down through the tri-oval and come across start-finish. Lap 3 of 15 in the books. And this time Hayes turns a 137.63 and continues to lead over Herrin and Cardenas. More to come right here on Speed. Stay with us. A few more minutes, that sun's going to be not an issue. Hey everybody, on Saturday, the Rough Riders of Supercross are going to be waging war on Canadian soil. The championship is still up for grabs, and with each race, the battles are tighter than ever. Monster Energy Supercross, live from Toronto, Saturday, 7:30 Eastern, only on Speed. Sure, check in on that one. That's going to be some great racing as well. We have Superbike action unfolding right here at Daytona, the opening weekend of championship racing to kick this season off, and it is the teammates on the Monster Energy Graves Yamahas. Josh Hayes going for an unprecedented fourth consecutive Superbike championship. Josh Herrin right with him. And then it is Martin Cardenas running on that Yoshimura Suzuki. Looks like he may have dropped off of these two just a little bit, Scott.
It looks like they're getting off the corners better, but that Suzuki's pretty quick, and we'll get down here to turn one, and you can see Herrin totally using the draft. That was kind of a little test run. And then you see Martin come back in the picture a little bit as they get to the braking zone. So it looks like he's having a little bit harder time getting that Yoshimura Suzuki off the corner with these Yamahas.
And unfortunately, the number 20 of Aaron Yates in the pits, that Team Amsoil Hero EBR, struggling a little bit. Greg White?
Yeah, it looks like that the tire has spun on the rim just a little bit. And of course, it's a balance issue, so it's creating a vibration in front of the motorcycle. Aaron wanted to pull it in to be safe, so they're looking at the option right now to change out the front and get him back on the track so he can continue to get laps on this new, for him, motorcycle.
Yeah, big vibration in the front at 200 plus miles an hour, not comfortable.
That's right, it doesn't really work out. You got to pull in and look at that. But back up front right here, the one still setting the pace, the two going to school, as well as the rider behind him on the 36, Martin Cardenas. These two guys are watching the best Superbike rider in America right now do his thing, and it's hard to get a good look at this guy in the past couple of years, because normally he'll set sail, get out front, and he'll be gone.
You know, one of the things looking at Martin Cardenas, the greatest thing about AMA Pro Racing when they transition to the double-header rounds is that when riders got to race on Saturday, they have to go back to the drawing board, think about their motorcycle, make adjustments, and then apply those adjustments on Sunday, and we see closer racing. But unfortunately, because it's been so cold here in Daytona in the morning, that the Yoshimura Suzuki crew didn't have a chance to make or try the adjustments for Martin's bike. So in essence, he's racing the same motorcycle he raced yesterday with fresh tires, and that's part of the gap you're seeing right now, is that they weren't able to make the comfort adjustments they need to give him that extra 2/10 per lap.
This is where the rider really comes into play now. He's going to have to adapt to that situation and try to make it work, try to work around the problems that he may be having, and I think he's doing a great job just to keep these guys in tow and that close if that's the situation for him. So, you know, that's what this sport's all about, and that's the beauty of motorcycle riding. The rider can make so much of a difference opposed to, let's say, a car racing deal where the rider's body position is different. The way he rides the bike really can make a difference.
And Cardenas just turned a 137.3. Herrin at 137.2, and the best lap, non-draft dated 37.1 by Josh Hayes, always impressive. But Cardenas, when he needed to, dug deep, was able to get back on the tail end of these guys. And here's the number 72, the Foremost Insurance Yamaha of Larry Pegram, going right now in that fourth spot. And you know, it's clear one of the reasons he was able to get to the podium was the problem for Hayes, certainly. But Pegram said, we heard it in the interview, that he was a little timid yesterday, with good reason, I might add, and today willing to let it go a little bit.
Well, I think what you're saying, he's kind of about running the same pace he ran yesterday, and that's where he's comfortable. You know, earlier in the day we're racing, right there he almost ran off the racetrack, so he's got to keep it together. The last thing he wants to do is have to spend more money. He wants to get points here. It's a long season, Greg, so he's doing the smart thing right now.
And he knows he's not quite in the pace of these this lead trio, but he's got them covered behind him pretty well. So just ride your pace and hope for some help. And Hayes, Herrin, and Cardenas has reeled them back in earnest this time and closing it up. So the battle at the front going to heat up just a little bit here as we have completed lap 6 of 15 in National Guard Superbike action at Daytona. Welcome back, everybody. April 4th on Speed, Barrett Jackson, the world's greatest car collector car auction, sizzles in the Sunshine State. See the most amazing cars all in one place and all up for grabs. Barrett Jackson, Palm Beach? Naturally. Exclusive live coverage begins April 4th at 2 Eastern, only on Speed. And we have a new second place bike, Martin Cardenas, moving that Yosh Suzuki up and around Josh Herrin and putting it solidly into second. Now we'll see what holds here on the banking, but Josh Hayes, if he takes a look back, he's going to see a little less friendly face.
Exactly, and not the guy he was used to seeing, but the thing about he does not look back. He rides in what's ahead of him. He'll have to take another look at it. You see Josh Herrin getting into that east horseshoe, runs it a little bit wide right there, opens the door. Martin just said, I'll take that spot right there, thank you very much. Kind of runs him out wide a little bit, and that's what happens. Easy to get into that horseshoe tight. I mean, a little hot, and he just had to run it wide and regroup, and it'll be okay because he's still in touch with these two.
And when I talked to Josh Herrin in Winter Circle yesterday, he mentioned that he had a bit of an arm issue, arm pump in his right hand, the braking hand, of course. And last night he soaked it in Epsom salt, and today he was rubbing Tiger Balm on it as a new leader as Martin goes into the lead. But that could be what Herrin's suffering from, is that arm pump.
That's a great point, Greg. I mean, a lot of people don't think about that, but these super bikes, to wrestle one of these things around a track, and when it's dodgy conditions, your body just tenses up sometimes, and it's hard to relax and breathe, and that's what leads to this arm pump. So he's still learning how to ride these super bikes, and now he's got to think, work through that in his head. He's got to back off a little bit, take a breath, settle down, and try to get that blood out of that arm.
Coming out of that replay of the pass as they headed into the right-hander at the end of the infield straight, you can see Cardenas, that rear tire up off the pavement. The guy is a demon deep braker, and put it to good use here. Slots around and picks up the lead on Josh Herrin. Let's go back, or Josh Hayes. Let's go back and take a look at it, Scott.
Here we go. We're coming in through turn one. Josh Hayes looks a little bit wide out there. Kind of opens the door up, and not sure if that was a mistake by his part or if he just decides, well, maybe I'm going to let one of these other guys that keep tagging along, let me let them run out front, and let me see what they got before we get down to the end of this thing.
I was down there watching a turn one there, Scott, yesterday, and Josh is getting 4 really quick downshifts done, going through that little kink right before turn one and backshifting to first. It looked like he may have just caught a false neutral there, because if you looked at the replay, his foot was kind of messing with the shifter still as they come across the start-finish line and back into turn one.
Good eye, JP, down there. That's probably exactly what happened. So he's going to try to take that spot, and he does it. Martin just cracks the door open, and Josh Hayes kicks it open and said, I'm taking this spot back.
This is all basically, it's thrust and parry we're talking about here, just setting up and trying to learn everything that you can at this stage of the race, because you get up on that banking, you've got to have a plan. Doesn't always go to plan. That's right. But you need to have one.
You need to have a plan. All these riders have some sort of a plan, and if it can change lap to lap. But you see that west east horseshoe, Martin looks like he's going to run in there and run way out of track, but what he's doing, he's triangulating it more, and he's getting a drive off. But that does open the door sometimes for someone to take the spot. And I think what we're seeing, the lap times now, Martin, the fastest rider on track, last time best time, 36.8. So he's the first rider to drop down into that 36 range, and that's quicker than we qualified on pole by 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, it was a great lap, but once Hayes got back out in front, he's been able to open it up just a little bit here. Coming through, ooh, a little wiggle there, but back on it, up onto the banking, and the run toward the tri-oval. Cardenas now second, of course, and then Herrin watching. Let's see, boy, Hayes he gets out of that chicane so incredibly strong and is able to stretch that margin. Here comes Herrin, going to take a look down for second, down to the inside of Cardenas. We'll see if he can get it done. He's through. Now, does Cardenas have anything to get him back down into turn one? Elects not to, settles into third. And as we approach, Herrin, big mistake. We'll be back to cover it in just a minute. Want to remind you that Fox Saturday Baseball returns with 3 great matchups as the Yankees battle the defending AL champion Tigers, or you can watch Angels outfielder Josh Hamilton as he returns to Texas to take on the Rangers. The other option, the Cardinals, will be taking on World Series champion Giants in a rematch of the NLCS. The debut of Fox Saturday Baseball is April 6th. Great games all, and we've got a great run going right here as we went to break. Josh Herrin, a little bit of an error.
He got down in here to turn 1, and I got to believe he might have hit a false neutral. Yeah, exactly. He went to the shift. You can see the front end start to tuck, and that definitely a telltale sign that he went in a false neutral because you lost all your engine braking. So if you can watch the handlebar, it's hard to see from this angle, but he definitely hit a false neutral, and at that point, you lose all your engine brake. You've got to turn, you got to go straight. If you try to turn the bike, you're probably going to fall down.
So he had that issue, but he did the exact right thing to minimize the consequences.
And still remains in third. Larry Pegram's a little bit closer, but I don't think Larry's got the pace to challenge him. And now Josh Hayes gets such a good drive out of the chicane. He's gapped himself from Martin right now as they come by. This is definitely the biggest lead he's had all race.
Now, at that point, did he, as you look back, obviously Herrin and Cardenas, they can't work together to stay with Josh, use that draft to benefit them. Josh thinking, now make the break.
Well, he probably didn't really realize what had gone on behind him, but he just kept his head down. Came by the last time at a 37.1, which eclipses his fastest lap of the race. So he's doing exactly what he needs to do. He's staying to his plan, and that's all you can do. You really can't worry about what's behind you. You can just put your head down, and he could see that he hadn't really gapped him. Here we are back with Herrin and Pegram, and Pegram has kind of stayed with Herrin on this one lap, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Larry, the 72's got something for him. We'll see.
Well, maybe now that he's got the incentive, when he was way back, it's like, all right, just get this finish, get the points. But now, if I could pick off another podium, why not?
He's got that carrot dangling out there in front of him now, so let's see if he can get a bite of it.
He's a hungry bunny.
Yes, he is.
Right there behind.
He's doing a great job.
He is. That's such a great story. I mean, one of the reasons, as I understand it, Scott, he went to Yamaha was they said, we're going to give you some good support. And when he needed it after that crash, they stepped up. But he has too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he loves this motorcycle. I talked to him after the first time he rode it, and he just all smiles. From coming off the BMW, every time he went to the throttle, he felt like the thing was trying to kill him. The Yamaha is so user-friendly. It puts the power to the ground with that cross-plane crankshaft, and you see how the success that Josh has had, and now when you see a rider get on something this good, how easy it makes life for you.
I think it's important, you take a look at what happened to Taylor Knapp in the warm-up with that huge crash, what Pegram had to deal with, the teams, the crews, putting these bikes back together. Oh, and a Hayes has a huge issue. We're getting reports. It may be a pretty serious problem for Josh Hayes. He's pulling it off and is parking it. He may be done. It looks like a major engine issue, Scott.
Wow. What luck the Yamaha guys are having this weekend. I don't remember these problems happening with these guys in the last couple of years. Now we've had a clutch, and now it looks like an engine failure or something. Josh is out. He's going to have a long season to recoup some points.
Let's take a look, see if we can see when it develops what the issue is. Oh, he's got a problem right there, doesn't he?
Definitely going into turn 1. You can see his leg out. You can feel it. It looked like there's oil possibly on that rear tire. He decides to go out straight. The good thing is he pretty much stayed off the racing line for a good bit of that.
Yeah.
So hopefully that won't cause any of the other riders behind him any problems if there is any oil on the track.
Well, we mentioned it yesterday. Save for the first race last year, this track has not been a friendly place for Josh Hayes, really.
No, and but it's going to make the season interesting because instead of the runaway guy like he was last year, now he's going to have to fight back from 2 races, scoring 0 points. And this makes a great opportunity for this guy right here, Martin Cardenas, which looks like now with a nice little gap right here over Josh Herrin. I don't see anybody reeling him in. He's got a 9-second, 10-second gap. All he's got to do is just keep making laps right here and be consistent. Let's see how this turn 1 goes here. This is where Hayes had his problem right now. He gets through there cleanly. Doesn't look like there's anything on the track.
Let's check in with Greg White. What's going on in pit lane?
Oh, a lot. Jeff May is in on the EBR. Corey West had to pull in his motorcycle. Taylor Knapp on the 44 is also out of this race. It's Daytona. This place, it just eats twins alive.
I'll tell you, we got some great action on the track as well. Now, Larry Pegram realizing this might be a battle for second place. He is all over the back of Josh Herrin, and Herrin runs a little wide. Pegram drives the foremost Yamaha down underneath, and looks like he may have had it. Now it's going to be a matter of braking deep into that left. He's got the inside line. Pegram is into second.
There's something going on with Herrin because a lot of these corners I've seen him run wide. As he tips the bike in, he's lost confidence in that front end. Something's going on right there with that motorcycle.
JP, any insight on what's going on with Josh Herrin?
You know, I want to talk to Scott about this. You know how it is when you get in rhythm around this place, Scott, and as soon as you get out of your rhythm, and it looked like you're right, he did have a problem in turn 1. We saw that front tire shaking underneath him and trying to get that last downshift possibly. He may have a problem with the shifter, but sometimes it took 2 laps to get your timing back after you've been running up front in that certain pace. And Larry's maybe just taking advantage of that a little bit.
Definitely, JP. I mean, you know it does. It takes a minute to get it back together. And then when you got heat from behind like he's had with Larry and throughout the race early with Martin, he tends to make these mistakes right now. But I don't know what he's feeling on the motorcycle. I don't want to say he's making mistakes. Maybe he just doesn't have the right setup and the bike's not doing what he wants, because he's a smart rider, been around a long time, but Larry's giving him all he can handle right now.
Boy, you know, I mean, he had the run coming up on Pegram, and Pegram for the longest time was able to stay right there. Finally drops back that 1 spot, settles into 3rd behind Herrin.
You know, one of the things I can think of, again, is what I talked about with Josh Herrin, is that arm pump that he's really suffering. If we keep seeing him missing the corners on the entry, it may be that he just can't feel or squeeze that brake lever like he wants to, and it's messing with his line. Scott, what do you think?
Hey, that's a great point, Greg. I'm glad you come back with that, because yeah, if your right arm's pumped up and you get to the corner and you don't have that feel, then the last thing you want to do is pull it more. If you can see you're running wide, you just kind of let the thing drift out and then gather it back up. So I would like to think that's probably more of what's going on. That's a great point.
So Pegram give a look back. There is nobody behind him. He's got no pressure there. Now it's just focus on Herrin, as you've got just over a lap to go at this stage as they're working their way back through that twisty infield section and now back up onto the banking, and that run through the chicane and through the tri-oval.
Just to update you on Jeff May's situation, he fried the clutch off the start, and that's why he had to pull the motorcycle in. Bad clutch.
Well, you're putting a lot of power of these engines down through some sticky tires.
Yeah, it has been an issue here this week. So
that's what happened to Herrin.
Yeah,
Herrin in the first race.
Hayes, yeah. You know,
I'll get those 2 right.
Back to talking about Herrin, you know, I mean, looking at the lap times, he's 2 seconds slower than he was running when he was running with Josh Hayes. So obviously Greg Wright hit that nail on the head. He's definitely, I guarantee he's having arm pump again. And you just have to slow down at that point. And that's what's allowing Larry, because he was a little bit off the pace, and to stay with him right now. So Josh, hopefully he's getting that blood flowing again and getting a little more feel in that front brake lever, and he's still able to hold Larry off for this far. And this is the last lap, so let's see if he can do it.
Yeah, last lap. Cardenas, just so you know, folks, 11-second lead right now, running over a second faster than these guys for most of this. Now this is the battle. Herrin and Pegram going for 2nd and 3rd. Roger Hayden about 6 seconds adrift of Pegram, and he has got his teammate Esla glued to him in a good battle between the teammates for 4th and 5th at this point. Boy, right in that infield section, Herrin able to gap Pegram just a little bit as we're on this final lap. But again, if Larry's just close enough when they come out of that chicane, and boy, he's close enough now, actually going for the lead is Herrin, a little wide.
I'm not sure if he did that on purpose. I mean, it looked kind of weird, though. He grabbed a handful of gas and come out to that right, and it looked like he just went wide. Maybe, yeah, they're playing the game now. He's going to sit behind him. He knows he can draft past Larry at the finish line. He did it a couple of laps ago. So instead of being that guy in the front, he decided possibly to let me be the guy behind. He's going to set Larry up right here. Now, the trick is not to pull out too soon.
Which he did. Here comes Cardenas, Scott. He's got all the room in the world. He is going to get his 2nd Superbike win, first for this team. And we watched Herrin go around Pegram, but he went around him awfully early. Larry now into that toe. He's got the run. He's coming up. Can he do anything with it? He is tucked right in behind as they come in. No! Not quite enough, but what a great run by Larry Pegram.
See Pegram. Here we go. The Jordan guys trying to settle their score. Looks like Roger Hayden's going to lead that one across. Danny Essick, what a great comeback from a bad start.
Fantastic, and it looks like Chris Clark on the team Yoshimura Suzuki is going to bring home the 6th spot. Pietri again, another strong run to 7th. Chris Fillmore in the 8th spot. Ulrich in 9th, and Anthony, it looks like this is unofficial, completing that top 10. But your winner, Martin Cardenas, and keep in mind, with that second place yesterday. He and Herrin, the point scenario is going to be incredibly close leaving here, and it's just going to be a matter of who led the most laps. Oh, and look at what's unfolding here, but that's nice. Josh Hayes over to his young teammate, telling him, nicely done, my friend. And that's good to see. Good encouragement. The mentoring, from the experienced guy helping the young guy coming up. Nice to see. And for Cardenas, enjoying this moment here and doing well in terms of championship points to boot. We'll be right back. Folks, you can check out and subscribe to our Moto Racing mobile alerts. Get the latest Supercross race results and breaking news sent right to your phone. Text MOTO to Speed 3 for Speed Motorcycle Racing text alerts. Do it now. We're back. Round 2 is in the books for Superbike. Let's get down to Greg White with our winner.
Martin Cardenas, congratulations. Your second race back in Superbike with a new team, and you do it here and at Daytona. Congratulations. Tell us about that race.
Oh yeah, a very tough race. The first three of us, the two Josh and me, was battling for the half of the race. And then Herrin, I think, goes in neutral and made a mistake, and it was left me and Hayes there battling a little bit. He got into the front and he was a little bit quicker, but I think 5 laps through the end he had a problem, and I just kept my rhythm, tried not to make mistakes, and I ended up winning the race. And I'm very happy for the Yoshimura Suzuki team and for me and everybody that's been helping me.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Great to see this man with that top prime level of a ride, and boy did he deliver when he had the opportunity today. Let's take a look at the unofficial full field results. Cardenas with the win, Herrin in second. The great story of Pegram Racing and the Foremost Insurance Yamaha program into third. Hayden rebounds with a fourth after the crash in round 1. Danny Eslick, those two having a great battle. Then Chris Clark at 6th, Pietri at 7th, Fillmore on the KTM in 8th. So good stuff there. Looking a little bit further back, once again, way at the back, you see Josh Hayes. That is a huge story, the early retirement for Aaron Yates. Now, we talked about that great run to second. Let's get down to Greg White once again.
All right, with Josh Herrin, and Josh, bit of a mistake going into turn 1 and then lost rhythm and arm pump after that. Tell us about that race and how you're able to recover.
Yeah, going into 1, I just must not have shifted hard enough going into first, and it just went into neutral, and so I coasted off. And I saw them having a big gap, and I just knew points getting out of here. Last year, I came out of here with hardly anything, and so I just wanted to, salvage a second if I could. Then I saw Larry catching me, and we had a nice battle there to the end. It was pretty cool. Just good to see the Monster Energy Graves Yamaha crew put together such a good bike for me this weekend. Be able to get my first win and then a second to back it up is awesome. Martin rode great. My hat's off to him. I was really impressed with how good he rode with both of us. I'm kind of out of control, but he, it was good to see that. And, I had a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to this break. Maybe try and figure something out with my arm and, come back strong for the regular tracks.
All right, congratulations, Josh Herrin. Now let's move over to Larry Pegram, who had a great race, almost second place, almost better than yesterday, Larry. Great ride to the end there with Josh Herrin. Tell us that.
Oh, the Foremost Yamaha was awesome. Again, it was easy to ride. The guys did a great job. I had a real lonely race there in the middle, and then I seen him make a little mistake, and I got the bit between my teeth, and I didn't even know that Hayes had went out. So I thought that was the battle for the podium. So I did everything I knew about doing. I think I had him outsmarted on the last lap, but we need to add weight to those kids. What I mean? I think he weighs 120 wet, and I wasn't going to beat him to the line from behind him or in front. So I let him get in front of me, had the perfect draft on him, but still couldn't get him at the line. But he did a good job of riding, and then my hat's off to Martin, too. He was gone. I couldn't run the pace at the beginning. The first 5 or 6 laps, they got away from me, and then it looked like I stayed about their pace. So I got to get better the first 3 or 4 laps, and we'll be with them in the races.
All right, congratulations, Larry Pegram. 2 podium finishes. Now let's go to Jason Pridmore.
All right, guys, we're sitting down here with both the Jordan Motorsports boys. They're talking a similar story here. Raj, a little better than yesterday. Obviously, you had some problems today. Why don't you tell us about those and how your Daytona ended up for you today was a little better than yesterday anyways.
Yeah, it was definitely better than yesterday. We ended up 4th today. We had a little problem with the bike during the race. The chain was slipping on the sprocket the whole time and was getting a little bit worse as the race went on. And, halfway through the race, I just didn't want to do too much and make sure I finished to get out of Daytona with some points after yesterday. I didn't want 2 DNFs, but the team's a lot better than 4th and 5th, and we expect a lot more. So, we got 2.5 months off now. We'll do some testing, we'll rebound, and get ready for when the season really starts at Road America. I can't thank the whole crew enough. everybody in the National Guard, Michael Jordan Motorsports for supporting us. And, we'll be back next round. We'll be fighting up a little bit closer to the front.
All right, we'll move on over to Danny real quick. Danny, 2 top 5 finishes in your maiden voyage with this team. Great start today, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't complain. The first weekend with the Michael Jordan Motorsports National Guard Suzuki team, it's been pretty good. I mean, other than tearing up a bike this weekend, having a solid 4th place finish yesterday, and I blew the start in today's race, and just terrible start on my part. So that definitely didn't help me out in the race at all. But got going and got by the first couple guys, and then was following Raj, and he ran a little bit wide in turn 1, and then that was pretty much the race for us. Me and him, followed each other around for the last half of the race, and kind of had some of the same issues going on with the chain slipping on the sprocket. And Daytona's not the place to be messing around with something like that. And Raj was right behind me, and I didn't want that thing to jump off and him come in and run me over and take us both out. So fair be best for the Michael Jordan Motorsports National Guard bikes to just finish and bring them back in one piece, and we'll move on to Road America.
Similar story, guys. Everyone's waiting for Road America.
Well, those 2 guys, we didn't see them come across the line, but there were 6/100ths of a second between them, so they were really close, and that's going to push each ride. That's great for that team to have that rivalry going in there.
Well, and Roger made the point. He said the team's better than these 4ths and 5ths, and he showed it in qualifying where he qualified 3rd and wasn't that far off. So the pace is there, certainly, and now they just need to refine things. Let's take a look at the current point standings as we depart Daytona after the opening 2 rounds of the championship. And Josh Herrin by a scant 1 point clear of Martin Cardenas. Larry Pegram 3rd in the points. That team has to be over the moon with what they've done here. Danny Eslick sits 4th, and Chris Clark rounds out the top 5. Pietri Fillmore, Anthony Martinez, and Ulrich. And of course the story there, no Josh Hayes trying to get a 4th straight. That is a tough way to start things off for the triple defending Superbike champion. But there's lots of racing yet to come this season, and we've got more to show you from Daytona. So don't go anywhere just yet. We'll be back. Here's Martin Cardenas. He's smiling. A race win in the books. Speed's coverage of AMA Pro Superbike from Daytona has been brought to you by Progressive Insurance, #1 in motorcycle insurance, and by Yamaha. Yamaha is the first name in motorsports. Welcome back to Daytona International Raceway, the world center of racing here at Daytona Beach, Florida, and it certainly is that. There's a look at the podium after round 2 of the AMA Pro Superbike race that just completed, and it was a fascinating one with great implications as the season unfolds. But there was lots of racing that unfolded here, and earlier in the weekend we had the first of the 2 Supersport races that unfolded. And from the pole, it was Tommy Puerta. He was your pole sitter, and obviously he was the guy that looked like he had the pace. But one of the things is, at this track, along with the start, it's the draft that is key. Puerta led early, wanted to lead often, but the race was a cracker.
As it always is. A surprise story for me were the Sadowski brothers. As there you see David Sadowski Jr. in the bright yellow helmet and the pink leathers, and his brother Matt right behind him. Those 2 guys came out of nowhere to be up here and battle with the normal guys up front. But in the end, it was Stefano Mesa who found his way to the line first. David Sadowski was 2nd. What a great run by him, and Mesa as well. So just an awesome race, and it always puts out good racing.
And in race 2 for the Supersport, again, the same qualifying, but an early off by Matt Sadowski. Couple others in that same area. They decided to restart it, and this time it was Hayden Gillum from the outside. Got an absolutely great launch from that front row, but it didn't take long. Puerta going for the lead. He was a determined man today, and this time, after, as he said, from round 1, he ran 9.5 great laps. He ran 10 great laps today, won it over Charles Weaver and Corey Alexander. That came from deep in the pack. Absolutely superb. The other race that unfolded was the opening round of the Vance & Hines Harley-Davidson Series on the XR 1200s, and this was just a drafting battle extraordinaire. It didn't really matter if you were in that top group of 12, you were a player.
That's right. You see Steve Rapp really strong in this class, but his bike broke early, and look at this battle. This is kind of how it was the whole race, Greg, and Steve Crevier finding his way to the front. I think everybody had a little run at the front, but in the end, it was number 29, Tyler O'Hara, beating race winner from last year, Kyle Wyman, to the line. What an epic battle.
It was that. It was a great show. As you saw, there were moments. They were 8-9 abreast trying to settle this one. And Tyler O'Hara, a little bit of redemption for him after that finish at NOLA last year. Comes back with a strong win, puts it all behind him. This has been a fascinating weekend. It's the Daytona 200 weekend. It's bike weeks. I mean, the whole thing here is spectacular. Let's get down to Greg White. Man, what a good one.
It was spectacular. And, you know, my thoughts right now are on the Superbike class and how the next race is 2.5 months away. And these teams, they're going to have a chance to start testing these motorcycles and developing them further because it's starting to get warmer here in the United States. So I'm really interested to see if people can start, even though Josh Hayes doesn't have points, he's still the benchmark at this point. Jason Pridmore's got some stuff.
I got to go along with Greg a little bit on this. Josh Hayes is in a 2-race hole now, and his 2 main rivals so far for the championship have both won races. His young teammate Josh Herrin, who's just going to continue to learn, who did a great job this weekend, and Martin Cardenas. I mean, Yoshimura's first win in a while from last year. New team, new everything. It's going to be an interesting racing season once we get going back at Road America.
We got Mr. Daytona up here in the booth. What are your thoughts, Scott?
I don't know. I think it's going to be a different scene to the different face of the Superbike class this year. You got a couple other guys that are serious contenders. I don't think Josh is going to have it his own way again.
Well, he's in a hole. He's got to dig, but we know Josh Hayes could do that. Congratulations to Martin Cardenas. Take care, everybody.